All right, let's talk to our next guest. David Aldridge covers the NBA for The Athletic. Hey, DA.
David, fellas.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
How are you, sir?
Let's start. Well, before we get into the Wizards, and we want to talk Wizards with you and NBA draft, let's start with the playoffs. We just mentioned it. The Knicks are a team full of guys they got in free agency or trades. They've gotten hot. I think a lot of people thought the Celtics were going to be there. It's going to be the Knicks, Cavs. Knicks, I guess, are a favorite in this series. How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the Knicks, you do wonder about, they've been off for almost more than a week, and you do wonder about rust versus rust. It's a kind of classic puzzle in the playoffs sometimes. But, I do think the healthier team tends to, over 7 games, take control of the series. And while Cleveland's sharper because they just played last night and they've played 2 7-game series, I do think the Knicks probably are going to win that series. They have home court. I think the way that Towns has been playing the last couple of series has really kind of unlocked some things for the Knicks that make them less dependent on Jalen Brunson. Like, they don't need him to score 40 to win a playoff game now. If Towns is facilitating and creating offense for other people, and having Anunoby back, right? He missed the end of the last series with the hamstring, but he's had 10 days off, 12 days off, and you don't know with hamstrings. Like, they're wonky and they could come back at any moment. But if he is healthy, I think that he's a difference maker for them in that series.
Isn't that kind of crazy, though, that like JP just said, that the starting 5 are all guys that they acquired in trades and they didn't draft any of them? That's kind of crazy.
Well, it's New York.
Yeah. I know, but props to whoever their GM
on
is.
a slightly different plane than the Wizards are.
That is true.
Yeah,
but
that is true. But David, this is the nation's capital. I always feel like it's a little disrespectful when people say we just can't attract free agents. And I know our track record wasn't great of it, but I don't know. It might be more management than it is being DC.
You are. Look, I'm a native Washingtonian. I grew up in the city. I live in the city. Nobody loves D.C. more than I do, but this is not about the city of Washington versus the city of New York. It is about the professional sports franchise in the city and the professional sports franchise in New York. And, there's a reason why the Wizards have struggled to get free agents, because they haven't been relevant for 50 years, with few exceptions. And the Knicks are a marquee franchise. They got Jalen Brunson. However they got him, they got him. You can say they did it kind of squirrely, and they hired his dad and all, and his former agent was running the team. All of that's true. They got him, okay?
Right.
And that changed everything because he became a superstar in New York.
But I would argue this.
When you have a superstar, you can build around a superstar with through other trades. And they did some really smart things with draft picks, and were able to hoard their draft picks until, and you may say they gave up way too much for Miles Bridges. They gave up 5 firsts for him. That's a lot.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I hear you. Can I counter it?
Sure.
My counter would be, and everything you said obviously valid. My counter would be that this group, though, appears so far the most competent group we've had in 30-plus years.
You mean,
front office.
And
if we had this group, they could go that route and be successful.
Eventually, yes. Yes. But, it took... Look, Golden State was a joke for 30 years. They were one of the worst franchises in the league, and then they got Steph Curry, and now they're not one of the worst franchises in the league. I mean, it's basketball, guys. You guys know this. When you have a superstar in basketball, everything is possible. Things become possible that were impossible 10 minutes ago. And if you don't have a superstar, you don't have a chance. It doesn't matter how competent your front office is. You've got to have players that are great and great enough to attract other players who are great to want to play there. And the Knicks managed to do that with a good front office. And this front office in Washington, I think they're doing a very solid job so far. They're doing exactly what most fans of the Wizards have said for 20, 30 years they want it. Tear this thing down. Start over. Stop chasing mediocrity. Well, they're doing that. And we'll see. The draft obviously is going to be a big part of that in a month. But we'll see how far they can get building this thing up to a place where people want to come.
Now, David, I know that The Athletic has kind of looked into what the Wizards are likely to do with that number one pick. Do you have a favorite? Do you like Darren Peterson, DeBonsa, and what do you think the Wizards are going to end up doing?
Look, I think when you're drafting one, you have to go for the biggest upside, I think. This is my opinion. I think you have to go for the guy that has the best chance to become a superstar. Mm-hmm. Because you don't get a chance to draft guys like that very often. It's rare for any NBA team, for every team. Nobody gets 5 number one picks overall in a row, right? You get this every once in a while, every 15 or 20 years. And to me, look, I think DeBance is the guy that has the biggest upside. I think he's got I don't know if he's going to reach his full potential, but if he does, you have a real star. A real one. Jason Tatum level star if he hits. He may not hit. I don't know. But if he does hit, you got a guy that you can build a championship contending team around. I think the same is true with Peterson, but there's just, to me, David, there's more questions about Peterson than there are about DeBansa. And that doesn't mean there aren't questions about DeBansa. There are. He does not shoot it great. Peterson shoots it better. I do think the one thing that NBA players get better at with practice and reps is shooting, because they spend a lot of time at practice shooting. Yep. And so they tend to get better at that. So I think he shot 34% on threes, which is not good, but it's not awful.
It's not horrible.
It's not 29%.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get better at that. He's not a good defensive player right now. Name me a number one pick other than
That's
Wemby,
okay.
who's
Trae
a
Young's not either.
Player off the rip.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is what you wrote.
Nobody is.
This is what you wrote. And I don't know if this is just your opinion or if you were talking to people, but you said the Wizards will surely look hard at Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, and Cameron Boozer. But if they don't take BYU's AJ DeBonsa first, I'll eat my hat.
Yeah.
And then you said, wait, I don't own a hat.
Agree.
I do own a lot of baseball caps, so I'll eat my cap. That's what you said.
Yeah. That's right.
So you believe it's going to be a DeBonsa? Yeah.
I do. I just think that at the end of the day, somebody told me this a long time ago, and it's corny, but it's true. If when all things are equal, take the tall guy.
Well, Caleb Wilson's tall.
Relatively equal. Take the guy that's 6'9" instead of the guy that's 6'4". I think that's probably true. So it's still true. So I just think he's got a chance to be a star. And I think, and to your point earlier, I think that matters in Washington, right? Because the franchise, since John Wall got hurt, has not really had a star. Bradley Beal was a really good player, but he wasn't a star in the sense of I'm going to spend money to go watch Bradley Beal play basketball tonight. That's what stars do in the NBA. And he wasn't that guy. And this franchise in particular, I think, needs a star. Mm-hmm. Somebody that gets people excited about this franchise, because there's been no reason to be excited about this franchise for decades. Mm-hmm. Gilbert Arenas was a star. He was crazy, but he was a star.
Yes.
And people, you have to have somebody that people want to go see. and that doesn't mean Darren Peters doesn't have a chance to be a great NBA player. He does. But I think there's something about DeBonsa, and I was around him a little bit in Chicago last week, that just kind of has a little juice to him, a little electricity to him, and I think that matters, and it matters to the Wizards. That's not like fake hustle. He's a great player who also has a little charisma.
Well, yeah,
and I think that's important.
That's definitely a point, because I kind of was being mean, but Peterson doesn't have that charisma. At least he didn't show it in college.
No, he's a very kind of quiet guy, and he's a great player.
Great player.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think DeBonsa's got a little more, kind of...
Got more riz.
Just, yeah.
But you know what? But there's a lot of guys like that. I mean, Acuff's not a real fiery guy. I mean, on the court, he shows it, but personality-wise...
He's a killer.
He's a killer on the court, but when you listen to him talk in interviews, he's not over the top. So it kind of depends on.
Right.
I'd rather just have the guy on the court show his personality than off the court.
No doubt. And look, if they wind up taking Peterson, I'm not saying that that's a bad pick. He's got a chance to be a star, a superstar.
Yeah,
he does. It's not unanimous, but if you're asking me which one would I take, I'd take DeBanza.
Yeah, I just think it's closer than people realize because
it might be.
The general perception is DeBanza, especially with fans.
Yeah.
It's like 90-10 here.
Yeah.
It's like 90-10 here. But they're like, yeah, we're open for business. It's anything's possible. And I don't think they're saying, like, they weren't really saying that with Cooper Flagg. They weren't really saying that with Wemby. It's a different kind of year.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not cut and dried like Wemby and Flagg were, where they were clearly the number one guy. There is, I would say, a plurality that think DeBanza, but it's not 90-10 in the NBA world. It's
100%.
I don't know, 60-40 maybe, or something like that. Like, there's lots of people who think Peterson is the best player.
Some even like Boozer. You mentioned that in the Athletic.
Yes, it's hard for me to see someone taking Boozer 1, but I get someone made the comparison to us, to Al Horford, and I think it's a very apt comparison. And I don't mean 39-year-old Al Horford that we're watching now. I'm talking about young Al Horford when he was in Atlanta. On a really good team that won 60 games. They just ran into LeBron, like a lot of people did, and couldn't beat LeBron in the East. But that was a really good team in Atlanta for a couple of years, and he was a real important part of that. And Boozer kind of projects to that. He's big and strong. He rebounds. He shoots threes. He blocks shots. He's really smart, really intelligent player.
Yep.
He's going to be a really good pro. And would I kill the Wizards if they took Boozer somehow? If it moved down the spot? No, I wouldn't kill him because I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good player in the league. I just, maybe I'm wrong. I just think they've never had a guy like A.J. DeBanza. Never.
DA, we only have
not a wing.
DA, we only have about a minute left. So the other series in the NBA playoffs pits the Spurs against OKC. Shea wins his second MVP. But if you've been watching the playoffs in early season, you're slowly starting to see Wemby become arguably one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA. Is he going to take over the league?
It seems inevitable, doesn't it? I mean,
it does.
Like he's progressing at a geometric rate. You know what I mean? Like he's learning, like the Terminator learned. Like they just a supercomputer. Like he's just processing everything so fast, and he's just destroying people. Minnesota's a good team, guys. They were a good team. He took them out. He just brushed them aside.
How about Anthony Edwards? How about Anthony Edwards shaking everybody's hands with 8 minutes left in the game?
That was a weird.
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have
not
done
great.
With 8 minutes to go, I wouldn't have done that. You can wait 8 minutes and then do it. I wouldn't have done it, but I people do things now that I wouldn't do. So that's just different generation. But yeah, no, I mean OKC's a great. They're defending champs. They got the best player in the league. But this is going to be a great series, I think. Great.
All right, David. Appreciate the time, buddy.
All right, guys.
All right, thank you, man.
Always
Appreciate
a pleasure.
It.
Good talking to you.
Thanks,
See you,
bud. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
I actually can't wait. I can't wait to see what they do.
Got to wait about a month.
Then you're going to have to wait to watch them.
Yeah.
You'll get like a little taste in summer
It'll
league.
be here before you know
The
it.
one thing I will
Summer
say,
league.
and I didn't want to just go over and over with DA. I mean, we've had stars. We had Chris Webber. He's pretty good, pretty great player.
Yeah.
We had John Wall. You may not think Beal was a star, even though he had his moments.
But there was nothing like the hibachi time.
Oh,
Gil.
heating up the
Gil, at the
hibachi.
time, Kicks and I would need to trade
By the way-
Kobe for.
By the way,
Yeah.
they had Gil with Antoine Jameson and Crom Butler.
I know.
That was a nice team.
We've had stars. I would argue the problem was the management.
Yeah.
The mismanagement. I don't think it's DC. No, DC's a great destination, believe it or not.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. There's no reason why we can't attract
I mean,
free
Bradley
agents.
Beal was averaging 31 in one season.
Oh, yeah. I know. But his point, people weren't necessarily like, I'm going to go
25.
watch Beal.
No, I understand.
That's fair.
He was just a guy who could score.
But I do think people were going to watch Gil 100%. I do think people were going to watch John Wall 100%.
Yeah.
And Chris Webber, and even though Juwan never was a star, they wanted to watch those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
1-800-636-1067 is the number. We're the Junkies. Be right back.